everybody, it's me, Julieann Hartman, and I am an unpopular mom, and I have an unpopular dad with me, Nate Baumann. And so we are right in the middle of his story, which is pretty crazy and amazing at the same time. So just to recap, there was mental illness in the home with his ex-wife, with the mother of the three kids, the three amazing kids, I might add, living in Montana. They decided to come to Charis Bible College. Jim came first, their oldest son, with a minivan and a sleeping bag and a pillow, which is at 17. Yeah, that's crazy. And then the whole family moved down, because when God calls you to something, you gotta go. And little did Nate know at the time that it was gonna open up this incredible life for him and his family. So here we are now. Rachel's in school, Nate's in school, your ex-wife is in school, and Jim is in school. And Abigail was too young, so she was home.
She was home, but she would show up here
Yes.
to be a part of all the production. So if you've ever seen a major production with Charis Bible College, you know how big and amazing they are. And Elizabeth and her heart to reach the world through media and through entertainment just is so amazing. But Abigail in those days came and volunteered a lot in those films.
Yeah, and she can dance, and she can act, and she can sing, and she's a beautiful girl. So I want to ask you a question about, a few things. I ask you this part because I'm curious. What happened, because they couldn't talk to their mom about girl things. Mm-hmm. Did you provide an aunt, a best friend down the street, a mother of another kid to say, because how do we talk about, getting your period? How do we talk about boys? I mean, was any of those things discussed, and were you the one that was discussing them?
Great and challenging question.
Yes.
Some of those, yes. Honestly, when you're a single parent, for all practical purposes, you're trying to do the best you can,
yes.
right? You're filling in the gaps. So that's why God put a husband and a wife together to make that balance. But man, we live in a fallen world and stuff happens that isn't pretty, but we do the best we can, right? And so if you're a single mom and you're raising kids, there's a gap of a single dad, right? If you're single dad raising kids, there's a gap of not the mom. And so you try and provide those things, Julieann, but let's be real, it's tough. Right?
Yes.
If you're a single mom, you want your son to grow up around a man who's going to be able to pour into him, and who is that? And oh no, is he good or is he bad? Trying to figure that out is really hard. And so honestly, I just encourage you, lean into relationship with God. And I come back to that over and over again, but God is our source. Our relationship with Jesus changes everything. And so really, God brought other families around us.
Okay.
Right?
Good.
And so it wasn't me trying to figure out who can be the source for my child. It's about, God, who will you bring into our life? And man, that story goes on all the way to today. God has been redeemed. And we won't jump to the end of the story yet, but truly God was faithful in that season and time. And he brought people along for each of them. I'll tell you, there was still a lot of hurt. There was still a lot of gaps. There was things they wanted they never got in those seasons. But that doesn't mean their life is over. It doesn't mean they're a failure. And it doesn't mean God can't redeem the story.
They don't suffer from any of that.
No.
No. They are Rachel. I know Rachel probably, I know all your kids. But Rachel I probably know a little bit more, only because she came to live with us for about 9 months. She worked for us. But she's just the sweetest thing ever. And I love Abigail and Jim. I mean, Jim was like, we would say we were his California parents. Jim is just the most kind, he's so generous with himself. He would always carry, we'd come here, he'd always carry a backpack, he'd carry whatever I had. He made sure that I had time to use the restroom, just so respectful. Mm-hmm. You just don't see those kind of kids. So it really goes against the whole thing of my mom had mental illness, so one of these kids is going to get it.
Nope.
See, that is what the lie is. And I hate when I hear that stuff. It's like, well, it's in your family. Well, no. And they lived in it every day, and they lived in it for years. Mm-hmm. And not one of them are anywhere near. They don't suffer from anything. No. Nothing but just love. They're the sweetest people in the 3 kids in the world.
And the reality is, we don't take things ourselves, but God does it, right? And so God changed me. And in my heart was relationship with the Lord. And from that, stability was brought to a very unstable world, right? And so God flowing through me allows them to receive that stability. And no matter what situation you're in today, you literally can do the same exact thing. But there's hope. And when you look at, maybe you're young and you're about to have kids, right? And you're like, this world is absolutely out of control. I don't want to have kids. I'm telling you what, this world needs kids who are on fire, like our kids are. Like they are on fire. They're all over the world. They're preaching the gospel, seeing thousands of people born again. And you would never dream from chaos to victory. It happens, and it can happen. So I want you to have hope today in this world. Don't give up. Don't quit. Have kids, raise them right, and let them change the world.
But you're also a very optimistic person. Now, have you always been?
Yes.
And you were optimistic when things were so opposite of that at home.
Yes.
Did that used to make your ex-wife mad? 'Cause you were.
Yes.
But you were modeling something to your kids that no matter what the situation looked like, we can still be positive. Because why? Because you had the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
That would speak to you and give you your direction. Man, that is a testimony of. So would you, what would you do? Was it in your studies that he would speak to you? Would you have to go out on a walk? Would you where would you hear from him the most?
It's a great question, Julieann, because again, I grew up in a lot of legalism, a lot of, you've got to read your Bible, you've got to pray so long, you got to do your devotions, and if you don't do it all just right, then maybe God isn't going to come through for you. That's what I truly believed, and so I felt like I had to do more.
Right.
And so as I came to Charis, and that's where we're starting to feed on the Word every day, 4 hours a day, bringing in the truth of the Word into our lives. And I remember it was like this light bulb went off. God wanted a relationship with me.
Oh.
Like I knew it because I've read my Bible, but I didn't know it.
Right.
And I would leave class and I would go out and I'd take my Bible and a notebook and I'd sit in the woods.
Oh.
Had a little woods path behind our home here in Woodland Park.
Wow.
And we'd sit in the woods and I'd sit there and I'd often hear absolutely nothing. And I did it day after day. Eventually I just started to write down what I was thinking. And from that, I began to hear from God. And that's what worked for me. Some people listen to worship music and that's where they receive from the Lord. Some people it's, just teaching and word. To me, it's all of it. There's not one that's right or wrong, but it's like he took me through a season of really deep relationship with him where I began to hear him in ways I'd never heard him before. And it began to transform me so quickly, Julieann.
Well, your kids were looking to you on how to handle the situation.
Yeah.
And so if you weren't hearing from the Lord, you probably would have got into all the emotions of it, where you would have been, hurt and just messed up. And then you would have transferred that on to your kids. So you really did have a responsibility on your hands to keep yourself at a level of not just being positive. It's not like positive vibes.
No.
It was getting the word, it was getting words from the Lord.
Yeah.
That was literally setting you up on an everyday basis to live your life. And so, wow. All right. So did your kids ever ask you questions about their mom that were you able to answer as they got older now? Because now they're in their late teens. Yeah. Right. And I'm sure there had to be some questions.
Yeah, we definitely dealt with questions, right? And quite honestly, when somebody's struggling like that, whether it's a spouse or whether it's a family member or whether it's somebody in your local church, right? The reality is we want to see them set free.
Of course.
We want to see them whole. We want to see them healed. And so, of course, there was that desire. There was that desire for me. That was desire from the kids. They wanted their mom to do well. And that's so hard because honestly, at the end of the day, no one can make a choice for somebody else, right? We're all responsible for ourselves and our relationship with God. And that's true no matter what situation we find ourselves in. There's no excuse. And so from that, we need to take responsibility ourselves. But with that, the kids' hearts would break. There was many times there was tears, there was frustration, right? Yeah. It's like, man, come on. You can get this, Mom. And they were cheering her on, right? And we did. We went through 2 years of Charis here and hoping, believing God. And at the end of the day, we got to the end of the 2 years and she decided she didn't want to be a part of our family. She decided she didn't want to be with us anymore and went on to the next season of her life.
Wow. So, when I met his wife, his ex-wife, I think she was like a greeter or something at a conference. And then of course, because his kids are so amazing, I'd want to meet the whole family. And I didn't know anything was going on. It was until a little bit later. But I remember one time when there was like an ice cream social, and it was starting for the new school year, and I asked you where she was. I'm like, hey, where is she? You know, there's nobody, you know, I didn't see her in the house. And he said, well, she won't get out of the car. And so, but the way he said to me with a smile on his face, very pleasant. Yeah, she doesn't want to get out of the car. And I was like, well, that's not right, you know? And I'm the one that said, no, that's not right. She needs to get her butt out there and see the, you know, and watch her kids, because I think I value that so much. You know, we live in a whole different lifestyle, a whole different area in the world. And I see how parents struggle so much to get their kids to do anything that would bring God into their life. And here she's got all three of them that are so, and a husband that is so on fire for the Lord. It's like, you better get your butt in there. So I went out there and I talked to her, and it was like one of those moments where we went like eye to eye. And I said, I don't know what you're doing, and I don't even care, but you need to get yourself together here and get back in that house right now. She just went, okay.
Yep.
So I tried to help a little bit with my part was this big, right? But I know that you had other people around you that were helping you. And I know that sometimes there was some embarrassing moments and stuff. And so, you know, in the family, but look at this man.
Come on.
You know, he didn't let it get to him.
Yeah.
So this is, man, I do so many different things on this platform, but this is a testimony of how you can stay positive, you can stay in faith for anything when everything is going crazy in your house.
That is absolutely true. And you know, we're out of time with this session again, but I'm telling you, this isn't where the story ends, so we can't end here.
It's not. We've got an incredible, it's an end and a beginning.
Come on.
Yeah, so come on back. So we'll see you guys next time on The Unpopular Mom, Julieann Hartman, Nate Baumann, and we'll see